Hello BookTube. If you've been watching this channel recently, you'll know that I've been working my way through the collected editions of the New Teen Titans, and I am now up to the New Teen Titans Volume 6. I've talked about my history with the New Teen Titans in the previous videos, and I'll leave a link to those in the description down below if you want to check them out. But just to recap briefly, the New Teen Titans were comics that ran in the 1980s. I discovered them in the 1990s, and I discovered them because they were available in the bargain bin at my local comic book store, where I was able to pick them up very cheaply. 3 for $1. And part of the reason they were so cheap has to do with the title change that happens in April 1984. So you may notice here that the title is The New Teen Titans until you get to issue 41, April 1984, in which it changes to Tales of the Teen Titans. Now this is a little bit confusing. I'm not quite sure what the reason for this was, but at this date, the New Teen Titans split into 2 different magazines. There was the New Teen Titans Volume 2, which I think started the numbering again with Volume 1. And that was the nice book. That was the book printed on the glossy paper with the expensive paper and the expensive colors, which you paid a little bit more for. And then there were Tales of the Teen Titans, which was sold at the regular price. Initially, they were both printing different stories, but after a year or so had gone by, Tales of the Teen Titans started reprinting the issues from the New Teen Titans Volume 2. So eventually, Tales of the Teen Titans stopped publishing new stories and just became reprints for the stories that had been published in the Teen Titans. Which is why those comics weren't worth a lot to collectors. They were just cheap reprints of stories that had originally been published somewhere else. Which is why I got them at the bargain bin in the 1990s for 3 for $1. Which is also why most of my knowledge of the New Teen Titans comes after the Judas contract. So the Judas contract was, I guess, the defining storyline that happened during this period. And then after that period, Tales of the Teen Titans just started reprinting issues from the New Teen Titans. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So anyways, before the Judas contract, I had some of these issues, but I didn't have all of them. So some of this was a reread for me, and some of this was new. This issue, we are building up to the Judas contract. Now, the Judas contract is the most famous storyline in the New Teen Titans, so you probably already know what that is, but I'm going to go over it anyways. This is when Tara betrays the Teen Titans, and thus it's called the Judas contract. And in later issues, it's looked back on as a moment of shocking betrayal in the Teen Titans legend or the Teen Titans mythos. How something that was both shocking both to the Titans, and also is sometimes portrayed as something that was very shocking to the readers at the time. Although it's interesting reading these issues and seeing how clearly it is repeatedly emphasized that Tara is never a good guy. From the moment she is introduced, it's made very clear to the reader that she's a little psychopath and that she is actively working to infiltrate the Teen Titans just to betray them. So I mean, I understand that the Judas contract is still a well-done storyline, but the reader, if the reader has been paying attention, the reader knows from the beginning that Tara is not a good guy. So there's should probably be nothing shocking to the reader about Tara's eventual betrayal of the Teen Titans. But that doesn't happen in these issues. We are still building up to that. So Tara is a part of the team here. And as part of her undercover work to make the Teen Titans think that she's one of them, she actually does fight alongside them. And when she's fighting against somebody like Brother Blood or something like that, somebody who is not the Terminator, who Tara is aligned with, Tara will actually help the Teen Titans. And in fact, there are a few points, or maybe more than a few points, where she actually saves the whole team. But she's doing this out of a sense of self-preservation. She's saving the whole team because she's part of that team, because she doesn't want to die. But anyways, let me take a jump back here. Maybe go back to the beginning. These are issues that came out from October 1983 all the way to April 1984. And like I said, in April, there's a name change here. These are all from the new Teen Titans, except there's one crossover with Batman and the Outsiders, which is included in this collection. There are not really any great stories in this collection, in my opinion. None of the individual stories in this collection are all that great. But there is a lot happening in these issues, as a lot of change is being set up, which will, I guess, pay off in the next collection, where I think we will get to the Judas contract finally in the next collection. So yeah, let's talk about a couple of them. First of all, Kid Flash leaves the group. He leaves the group in issue 39 here. Where he talks to the Teen Titans and says that he's finally done with them. Now, I read an interview with Marv Wolfman somewhere years ago. I forget where I read this, where he talked about why he got rid of Kid Flash. And the reason is that after having introduced Kid Flash into this group, he very soon realized that Kid Flash actually doesn't need the rest of the Teen Titans. Kid Flash moves at such great speed that he could go in and have the bad guys already tied up before the other Teen Titans actually got there. Remembering that interview, it's stuck in the back of my mind as I've been reading through these volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that, really, in a lot of these circumstances, Kid Flash really should be able to handle it all on his own. If he's moving at, miles per second like he supposedly is supposed to be able to. And you go back and I think maybe I've commented on this once or twice in the previous volumes, but not as much as I could, because it's true basically for every issue. You think to yourself in the back of your mind, Kid Flash really could have handled this bad guy all by himself. But the Marv Wolfman got around this by making Kid Flash out to be a bit of a klutz, downplaying his powers. But really, it's kind of sloppily done. In a lot of these adventures up until this point, Kid Flash should have been able to handle it on his own. So that's why Marv Wolfman got rid of him. Now, it's interesting, again, going back and reading the first 5 volumes in this collection. I don't know at what point Marv Wolfman decided he was going to get rid of Kid Flash, but Seems like this has been a long time coming. Kid Flash has kept talking about how he's going to leave the group, how he feels out of place at the group. So it's been set up for several issues before this, but finally Kid Flash does leave the group. Now, he'll come back to guest star a few times, and his girlfriend Frances Kane will also reappear, if memory serves, in the later issues as a guest star. But he's done as a member of the group. In a way, I'm surprised it took this long. So, like, in my mind, Kid Flash was part of the early New Teen Titans, but he wasn't really a member of the group, and they got rid of him very early on. That's the way I always remembered it. But, you know, here we are, all the way in Volume 6, near the end of Volume 6, and, you know, and I think there are only like 11 volumes in this reprinted run. So, Kid Flash is... yeah, he was a member of this group for a long time before he finally left, but now he's finally leaving. The other big change is Robin, or Dick Grayson, is getting rid of his Robin costume. Now, this is set up in his discussions with Batman, and let me see if I can find those. So Dick Grayson, Robin, is unhappy being the sidekick of Batman. He wants to move out on his own. And they have a discussion somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. For whatever reason, George Perez tends to draw Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne as pretty much the same. Right? It's a little bit confusing sometimes telling who is who. But this is Bruce Wayne. He says, I don't like what you're saying. You want to officially end our friendship? Our partnership, as in Batman and Robin, not our relationship as Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. So he's hinting already that he wants to drop the partnership. And then throughout the rest of this storyline, which... crosses over into Batman and the Outsiders, which was Batman's team at the time. Dick Grayson, a.k.a. Robin, is frustrated about being in Batman's shadow. It's always the same. Every time I step out of my own, he steps in, and it's back to being the boy wonder. Oh, by the way, I should mention something that I should have mentioned before. This is one of the very few New Teen Titans issues in which Batman makes an appearance. So for whatever reason, I'm not sure if this was broader DC editorial policy or what, but the New Teen Titans issues, even though the Teen Titans themselves were very closely tied to their counterparts in the Justice League, right? Wonder Girl was tied with Wonder Woman. Kid Flash was tied with Flash. Robin was tied with Batman. But their older counterparts very rarely appeared in these issues. Again, I don't know why or whose decision that was, but this is, I think, one of the only appearances of Batman I can remember being in the New Titans. But yeah, in these issues, we can see that Dick Grayson is chafing under Batman's shadow, and even though they end the storyline with a handshake, and Robin admitting that he's only as good as his teacher, a pupil is only as good as his teacher. Later on, he will decide to... Sorry, I went too far. He will decide to shed the identity of Robin. So take off his Robin costume. Now, of course, if you know anything about comic book lore, you'll know that Dick Grayson will find a new costume identity as Nightwing. But that doesn't happen yet. They're going to draw this out for several issues. And you know, why not? Keep the readers coming back and in suspense. So we see Robin getting rid of his costume, but it's going to be several more issues before he chooses his new costume. It would be interesting to read the Batman issues from the same period and see how this is being portrayed over in the Batman magazine. And I really don't know. I don't know. Does anyone out there know which collected editions of Batman I would have to buy to read about Batman's adventures in the same period? I did read on Wikipedia that starting in the 1970s, there was a change in Batman to try and make him more serious and more dark. And as part of that change, Robin, or Dick Grayson, was aged up to be a college student who would only occasionally appear in the Batman comics from, I guess, the 1970s onward, because he was supposed to be away at college. So I don't know if Robin was regularly appearing in the Batman comics at this point in history, or how this change was handled. I've read in a couple different places that I guess the version of this that was portrayed in the Batman comics is that Dick Grayson got fired from being Robin because he froze up at a key point, or he flinched at a gun or something like that. But I hope I'm remembering this right. I think I remember an interview with Marv Wolfman somewhere where he says he never really felt bound by that. And he said he doesn't like this continuity across comic book lines because it makes the greatest writer become beholden to the worst writer. So that was his excuse for kind of ignoring the continuity. Hopefully I'm remembering that quote right. If I'm not, forgive me. But anyways, point being, the second major change is Kid Flash is gone, and Dick Grayson has ditched the Robin uniform. Now there's a couple more issues that go on in this volume. And again, in this volume, he has not chosen Nightwing yet. But in this volume, he is just a civilian. They're trying to figure out what his name is. He goes undercover. I guess this must be a wig or hair dye or something like that, because this is supposed to be Dick Grayson here. But yeah, he doesn't have a new costume identity yet. Another thing that happens here is the Who is Donna Troy issue. So, Donna Troy is Wonder Girl. And if I'm understanding my comic book history correctly, Wonder Girl initially appeared in issues of Wonder Woman, but she was not Wonder Woman's teenage sidekick. She was just like Superboy. So it was like the adventures of Wonder Girl when Wonder Woman was a girl. But then when they started the Teen Titans in the 1960s, they included Wonder Girl in their lineup. And they just disregarded the fact that Wonder Girl wasn't her own character. Comic book continuity was a bit less serious at that point. But once comic book continuity started to become more serious, then fans wondered, well, who is this Wonder Girl anyways, and where does she come from? So this is one attempt to straighten out the backstory, where Dick Grayson, aka Robin, this is before he shed his identity, tries to figure out the identity of where Donna Troy comes from. Now, again, somebody who knows more about comic books than me will have to fill in some of the gaps here. But I believe that DC Comics rewrote this origin story several times because they've rebooted their continuity several times over the years. So I don't think this is still canon, but this was the attempt at the time to figure out who is Donna Troy and how does she fit in to the story. Donna Troy, by the way, is Wonder Girl's alter ego. Okay. So with those comments out of the way, in the remaining time, let me just kind of go through and talk about some of these issues. We have this issue here where Sarah Smith's ex-boyfriend goes crazy and Cyborg has to save her. It's not a great story, but what you can see in the story, excuse me one second. What you can see in the story is all the wonderful soap opera-esque personality conflicts that Marv Wolfman kept going throughout this. So, Raven is afraid to use her powers. Cyborg wants to help her, but she refuses the help. So you've got that going on, and let me see, where is it? Oh, sorry, I take it back. Maybe it's the next issue where these come in. Yeah, Robin is the leader, but he's feeling a crisis of confidence because of his adventures with Adrian Chase. Now, these adventures, I guess, must have occurred maybe in Adrian Chase's magazine. Adrian Chase was a spin-off character from the New Teen Titans that got his own magazine called The Vigilante. And apparently Robin was off running with him. Yeah, maybe those happened in the Vigilante issues. So he says, I've been screwing up all over the place as of late. I've got no right to be the leader here. Fact is, I've got no right being here, hurting the Titans' reputation. Maybe it would be best for all of us if I simply quit and let them do what has to be done. Yeah, the part of the drama of the Teen Titans is there's always somebody in crisis who's about to leave the group. Here's Wally West. He says, which is probably half the reason why I'm quitting. Of course, Wally West actually does quit several issues down. Yeah, we've got Thunder and Lightning here. This, like I said, this isn't a great issue. At least the story is not great, but the ongoing personality conflicts with the Titans and yeah, the ongoing character development is good. Yeah, and then here we have the crossover, like I said, with Batman and the Outsiders. So Batman has a team at this point with the Outsiders. And yeah, I regret to say I don't think I've read any issues of Batman and the Outsiders. But it seems like an interesting team, huh? I've always thought, what is his name? Metamorpho was a cool-looking character. This Katana character looks pretty cool. And then, oddly enough, it turns out that one of the Outsiders, Geoforce, is Tara's brother. Now, we know that Tara is going to turn out, or has already been revealed to the reader, to be a bad guy. But Geoforce is her brother, and Geoforce, I think, goes on just being a hero. He does not turn out to be a bad guy. He keeps going on being a member of Batman's Outsiders. Like I said, I've not read a lot of these issues, but I've looked him up on Wikipedia. And yeah, I've always thought that was kind of weird that his sister was such a psychotic supervillain, but he keeps on being a hero. Anyways. So then we get to the crossover issue with Batman and the Outsiders, which has is being done by a different artist now because it's a different comic. But somewhat surprisingly, I almost didn't notice it was a different artist. I mean, I think unless you look real close at the character designs, I mean, if you look real close at them, you can kind of see it's not George Perez. But otherwise, yeah, at a cursory glance, it does just kind of look like the same characters, the same art style. Anyways, I think maybe I've said everything I need to say about these issues. So maybe I will just finish up here, and I will continue next to Volume 7, if I can get a hold of that from my local library. And I think Volume 7 is definitely going to be the Judas contract, right? Or we'll see. Maybe they'll... I think Volume 7 will definitely be it. All right, so I will see you later, BookTube.